Welcome, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios. And I know you're all here for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. Now, it's been a while since this guest has been on. This will be his second showing. But we got a lot to talk about and a lot to catch up on. So, I promise if you hang around for about 10 seconds, we'll get it going and we'll get it going good. And we're back. And like I said, it's me, the Cyber Warrior. With me this evening, I have the one and only Jesse Clark, and we've got a lot to get caught up on and a lot to talk about. Before we do, though, please remember, like, comment, subscribe, share, all those fun things. And if you're on YouTube, of course, tips, super chats, and all that other fun jazz is always appreciated. Now, getting that out of the way, Jesse, how you doing this evening, sir?
Oh, goodness. Doing rather well overall. A bit tired, but yeah, that sort of thing. Sleep debt is par for the course, so we're good.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this industry, and if you're doing career transitioning, things like that, it's brutal. Even when I was in the Army doing my time trying to break into the industry itself, knowing I was getting out, it was a long road and a lot of longer nights. So, good to have you back on, though. So, before we get into the topic at hand, what has been going on? Where are you at in your career transition and things of that nature?
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, let's see. Since the last time we spoke, about a year and a half or so has flown by. In that time, I have come to learn a lot more about the industry that I'm trying to get into. Both on the technical side and a little bit on some of the social aspects of it. Now, fortunately, I'm a geek from way back, so the social realm of everything that flows pretty smoothly. I'm kind of reacclimating amongst my group and starting to get a feel for who my geeks are out there. So I'm enjoying that. I've been going to local DEF CON meetings in the area, DEF CON 864. They meet on the first Thursday of every month, and it's a technology enthusiast group, mainly people in pen testing and the security side of things. But anybody's welcome. Gosh, let's see. This year alone, I have graduated with my Associates in Applied Science with a Cybersecurity major from the local tech college. That happened like a week or so ago. Let's see. That was Dean's List all the way, with the exception of one President's List for the spring, because I actually made time to take an extra class and sadly ignored my wife for about 4 months, which she was very gracious about, I must say. I've enjoyed being married for the past 24 years and coming up on 24, and would like to continue that streak. So she was very patient. Took a couple of classes at the same time that apparently the person who came up with the course curriculum, a gentleman by the name of Mike Holcomb, a really prominent voice in cybersecurity, especially when you're looking at OT these days. He actually came up with the coursework for this, but he never intended for 2 of the classes that I took in the spring to be taken at the same time. The final project for basically the second semester Pentest course was to do a full-on, pen test for a Fortune 100 company, simulated, of course. The OSINT part was real, but when it came to hacking boxes and finding vulnerabilities and that kind of jazz and actually sending packets, that part was all handled through TryHackMe and Hack the Box, mainly Hack the Box, and a virtual environment was come up with by the instructor. But the final report was 850 some odd pages, so that was a nice book. And then there was a closing type thing for the one that was more focused on CySA plus, and that was only about 80 some odd pages, but still, it was a bit. Let's see. Since January, I picked up my Pentest Plus, my CySA Plus, and then I backtracked and got my Security Plus because apparently I do things ass backwards, is all I can guess. I actually think I may have taken them in their order of difficulty.
It happens.
Yeah, but they all seem to get easier every time, so that was lovely. Let's see. I've got about a year under my belt over at the local tech college as an assistant IT analyst. A lot of that's mainly been hammering out issues with people trying to log in from Singapore 1 minute and then Turkey like 5 minutes after that. And then suddenly they're in Louisiana. And, I think we're going to lock that account out.
Impossible travel's real. I don't know. You never know. Being in a college, maybe they invented a teleporter and we didn't know about it.
Well, it's a technical college. I don't know. They've got a lot of hands-on stuff going on. So it could have been somebody in automotive for all I know. It could have been Back to the Future all over again.
Hey, possibly.
But let's see. Gosh. So those, and of course, those three are all stackable certifications. So whenever I finally got the last one, I now have 6 industry certs. The paper from Greenville Tech. I'm going to be going back in the fall for a couple of additional classes on sysadmin and that kind of jazz. Because I picked up some Python. I self-taught a little Ruby. Not enough to do much other than be dangerous to myself and maybe crash some code. But every now and again I can be useful. Been working with Active Directory. I've got a home lab set up. About a month or so ago, I picked up a 10-year-old HP Z440 workstation. So I've got 18 core, 36 threads, 128 gigs of RAM, and Proxmox got installed like half an hour ago. Finally, well, I mean, this is version 2.0. Version 1.0. I was very excited to share my toys. I'd gotten a new toy. I wanted to play with it. I knew some guys that were in like network admin and that kind of jazz. And so we got together talking about ways to set up a virtualized environment in the actual workstation and have multiple people be able to remote in at the same time, which sounded lovely, sounded great. And I immediately threw out the window every single thing I've learned about cybersecurity in the past year and a half. And I opened up RDP on 3389 with a static IP address and then publicized that on no IP so that they would have a human readable address to go to whenever they RDP'd in. I thought I had everything set up securely enough by having it limited to only their IP addresses that could actually do the RDP into that workstation. And that was false, sir. That was false. So in addition to leaving the super user available with no password, so I made it easy for them. Once they got past that first little gate, sadly, they were also good at what they were doing. Now, they didn't get any money. They didn't get anything of value from me. Because I did manage to stay ahead of them as far as running ahead, changing locks, turning combinations, shutting doors, and enacting MFA on things I didn't think I cared about until 5 seconds ago, and all that kind of jazz. But it took them about 5 hours to finally get in, and then once they did, man, they were deleting logs back forward, sideways. Let's see, they changed the access for every admin on the little workstation there. Let's see. So I got locked out, but the thing they couldn't stop me from doing is unplugging the machine from the wall.
It's secure at that point.
Yeah. So I stopped their access about 15 minutes after they got in, which wasn't bad, I don't think. So I'm going to practice I was able to practice real world incident response. by setting up a honeypot and using my own finances as the bait. So yeah, that was kind of cool. I'm putting it on the resume because I've been analyzing log files and whatnot for the past several weeks and kind of going through trying to see exactly what it was they did and how they did what they did. But man,
so all your labs, and I tell people this all the time, if you are doing legitimate security work at home, whether it's honeypots or security onion or to your point, Proxmox or anything like that, that should always be on your resume. Because if you don't have the enterprise or industry experience yet, right, for the amount of time or enterprise level stuff that they're looking for, at least that can get your foot in the door. Because when people start looking for, well, what experience do you have, you are legitimately and rightfully so triggering those keywords for what they're looking for. I would just make it, my biggest thing is always, just when it comes to an interview or your resume, don't lie. So if you put on there, oh yeah, I know security onion, right? Cool. In what regard? And if you're like, oh yeah, I've configured and used and I've had 100 systems going to security onion. Really? Or was it a home lab and you had 2? Like, let's be honest about this. Be real.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's no reason for me to have to prevaricate as far as any of this goes. And that's the nice thing about it. I've been ridiculously busy, and I'm actually not looking forward to updating my resume simply because it's going to be actual work. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun like going on Hack the Box and playing around there, or getting a VM to attack from Kali or something like that. And sometimes lessons are hard won; they're painful, and when you have the scars from them, bring it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have if you can't back it up, no. I've known way too many people to what's the right way of saying it? They came up with alternate past realities that they could have existed in, but they didn't. But they would tell people they did anyway, and it all comes out. It
or they embellish.
Yeah, same.
And so getting into the technical side, getting into the security side, because again, like you said earlier, and we talked about the first time you were on this over a year ago, we both come from a very strong technical background of just loving tech and being ingrained in it. And so I think looking at that, do you think that background on top of what you're doing now, will it be to your advantage? Because let's get to the topic of the show.
Yeah.
When it comes to age, because we all know now. Let me preface this by saying it is not impossible to transition careers at any age. I know for a fact. I've seen my father do it well into his 50s and early 60s. So I know it's possible, but do you think it is harder than if you are more in your 30s, I would say, if you wanted to transition then?
I've thought about that a bit already, and I think that really depends on the mindset of the people who are doing the screening on the actual resumes. And mainly the interviews, because the resume itself doesn't carry an age, though some of the items I might put on there will indicate a date that might surprise some. But when it comes to the actual interview, I think that if the hiring party is going to be in their 30s to 40s, then yeah, it would really behoove you to be in your 30s or 40s. I can't do that, unfortunately. I missed that window. So I need to hope for older hiring managers that are aware that you can be, however old. I happen to be 50. But You could be 60, 70, and actually have a very sharp mind that is engaged, that wants to learn, that wants to know what's the next thing around the corner. And can I stop them from getting into this industry? And the answer is no, because they will keep coming. Now, if I've got a hiring manager like that, hey, I'm in the door. But yeah, the entire age thing, I think it can be something that comes into play. One of the reasons that I tried to invite a couple of my colleagues from school is that they're also more advanced in their number of trips around the sun. And one of them is already in tech, and she's trying to transition into the cybersecurity part from a programmer/dev section. And she's got a few years on me. I really wanted to kind of hear her, her pushback. Because so far, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm doing everything that I can find, can think of, can work out that makes sense to make myself visible, useful, and desirable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's a big thing. I mean, we've got, Jack and Space Tacos and, some other people that have been on the show, following the show, been around for a while. And again, the transitioning careers later in life and being like, you know what, I want to do something different. And like I said, my dad was in his 50s when he decided to transition into cybersecurity. Hell, me and him went and got our CEH and our CPT together when I was in the Army still. So, it's one of those things that when I look at it, I don't think from the perspective of age, it is as problematic as maybe people make it out to be. Now, to your point, it could be based on the age of the hiring manager. But when we look at some of the other caveats that we've seen out there with hiring, seasoned, it sounds like we are more fun. I always like the sound of vintage. Hey, either one of those work. But when we look at some of the caveats of, being younger. So I'm in my 30s. I've got 5 kids. I'm married, been married for a while. So I'm a family man. I coach football. I do all this other stuff. So at this stage of my career to try to transition, if I were to try to get into cybersecurity right now and be like, oh, I can't really work on call. I can't do X, Y, and Z because I've got kids. I've got football. I'm coaching. I've got family requirements I got to meet. I honestly think it's worse sometimes when you're looking in cybersecurity when you're setting those limits. Because nowadays we want to talk about work-life ratio, work-life balance and, being part of your family and just setting this time aside that for those that prefer vintage, when you get to that point, a lot of times, even if you have kids that are older, they can drive themselves places, they can do whatever. Very rarely do you find, someone in their 50s with a 7-year-old. Not to say it doesn't happen, just saying it's more rare.
Those people should be arrested.
Yeah. So to have the I gotta be here for my kids issues crop up like they do for those in the mid range. I think people should look at it differently.
I think people should, definitely. Now, the question that I'm getting ready to run into in the next 3 or 4 months, because I'm getting ready to start that entire resume process and start dropping that thing off and trying to shake some hands and kiss some babies. But I've heard varying reports. Some people, they say, "Hey, great, no worries. I made the transition. I got into what I wanted to get into. Everything's going along fine." And I run into a couple of people out there. They're like, "Everything was fine until I turned, X," and then at that point, no one wanted to return my calls anymore. But was that because of the age, or was that because of a change in attitude, a change in desire, a change in drive? So I don't know. So far, and this is what I was kind of getting at before. So far, I've encountered nothing negative about my age from the other people that I have run into in the industry. Be that, people that work for some of the companies around here, be that other students, be that, anybody. They haven't said, "Oh no, you're an old man. Quick, get out of our club."
Look, as long as you're buying the beer, I ain't complaining.
No, they can buy their own beer. Most of these guys are already in the industry. They're making bank. So, but yeah, the people I've met on LinkedIn. Heck, one of these guys opened a door for me in getting me the gig over at Tech in the first place. I happened to make a connection with the guy who's in charge of IT for Greenville Tech. They were creating a work study position that was going to be in the, under their cybersecurity guy, and it never even got posted. I ended up going directly to someone, signing some papers, and that was it. I did an interview, and the guy who was going to be, who is my boss over there, we seem to get along okay. We both like old cars. He's a bit more into it than I am. He's better at it than I am. But
I got more money for it too.
There's that. The man is actually just weirdly talented. I'm not going to lie about it. Having worked with this guy, Brett Looper's his name. Having worked with this guy for a while, he's got skills involving auto mechanics, involving setting up home networks, CCTVs, running wire. He's got a freaking backhoe that he digs with, for construction projects around his place. And he's got like seven antique cars, TR7s and maybe a TR8, I think. But the guy's just really talented, and he's great with all the cyber stuff. As far as knowing what's going on with this firewall, this type of equipment, these logs. This is where you got to go to make this happen. Oh no, we're getting a DDoS attack. Well, this seems like a great time for us to go ahead and hook up with Cloudflare. We've been talking about that for like 6 months now. So your problem now, guys. And we could be getting DDoS right now from the same attack that came in. We would never know. They Cloudflare's got too much depth for whoever it was. So
I mean, let's be honest. When the longer I'm in this field, the more I realize, and especially doing this show has opened my eyes to so many people and of so many backgrounds, ages, just everything. They always, what's the old adage? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And yet I find every day that within humanity, you can always learn something new if you're willing. And so I think personally if we were to go back in the day when there were still pensions, then yeah, maybe age would matter. But these days when all you have is a 401k and that shit can go up and down and all around and literally drop out of the sky, and you have to work until you have a savings that can support you financially the rest of your life. So I honestly don't think ageism should even be a thing anymore, even though, like we said, it very well can be. We're not going to say it isn't, but I really don't think it should, because the reason people are transitioning careers is because they want a better life. They want to do something new. And if they have the ability to get, to learn it, then why not let them?
I can totally agree with that. And there was actually a podcast I was listening to, and a woman was talking about, the shortage of available talent in the industry with regards to the unicorns they're going for all the time. And, she was saying that, if you want to hire the best people, that's great. But if you're only hiring the best people and you can't find enough of them to do the job that needs to get done, why don't you hire some pretty good people too? Pretty good people do pretty good jobs pretty much a lot of the time, and they're all over the place. They're a lot more common than unicorns in everyday life. And yeah, there's some chinks in society and whatnot, but generally speaking, the infrastructure holds together pretty well. You know, but gosh,
But again, you said the point right there though. Everybody, and again, this is where we need to quit putting restrictions on what we're looking for. Because you can't. Are there unicorns out there? Yes,
sure,
hands down. There are people that somehow, some ways, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how their brain works, but these people legitimately know everything about cybersecurity. Like you put them in front of a keyboard and they can run circles around everybody no matter what it is. But the flip side to that is, are they social? Can they talk to clients? Can they actually interact? Can they
do
close
you want them to
deals?
talk to your clients? Yeah,
So this is where, you have to look at it from a perspective of you may be hiring this unicorn, but don't put them anywhere near your board positions.
no,
Don't allow them to talk to the executive. Don't allow them to talk to the directors. They legitimately need to be the ones in the basement on the keyboard. And when you need shit done and shit hit the fan, that's who you go to. You call up Clara from cybersecurity, and you go, "Hey Clara, shit broke. I don't know what, I don't know how, but it broke." And within 10 minutes, she's gonna have an answer for you on what happened and who did it and where it came from. But she ain't ever gonna talk to anybody. She's just gonna fix it.
well, no, let's not talk about attribution now. You say she told us who did it. We can't say that too much. We got to stay away from that. Got to stay away from attribution. It's the act that matters, not who did it.
But Jonathan says it here, and this gets back to your point though. You cannot have an entry level position requiring a bachelor's in 5 or 10 years experience. What that is, that's companies that want to pay junior pay for senior people. That's legitimately what it is. They have to put junior on the title because it's the only way they can put it in that pay band. But that's not what they want. They want a senior. They just don't want to pay for a senior.
But yeah, let's see, what was it? Oh, going back to the point of difficulty with hiring managers and that sort of thing. There was actually a phrase that I heard fairly recently that I kind of liked, and it was that at the end of the day, the pessimists are often right, and the optimists are often successful.
Yeah,
I kind of like it. So, because right, you were talking about people who want a better life, as far as their reason for transitioning and that sort of thing at whatever age. Would I like a better life? Well, I don't know. I got a pretty good life. Am I rich? No. I have a loving wife. I have a charming and vicious dog, and everything's pretty decent. I'm not wanting for anything, but there was one thing I was wanting for, and I was thinking about it one night as far as what I was hitting about the age where I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got more years behind me than I do ahead of me. So what exactly am I leaving behind when I'm done? Now is the time to really start thinking about this. And if all I can say at the end of the day is that I left behind less resources and took up space for a while and used some air, and that's what I got as a legacy, that sucks. That's not how I want to go down. I don't have any kids. I'm not looking to have any kids.
You sure? I mean, you're only 50. You could have like 1 or 2, Jesse. You'll be all right.
Why would I want that? There are people out there that love children, and I like the idea of children. They should exist, and occasionally I will meet a charming child, but normally I would rather not meet them.
Hey, look, children
There are a
aren't
lot
for
of
everybody.
responsibility. There are a lot of
And I always
responsibility.
make jokes about it because there are those people like, oh, you should have kids. Not everybody should have kids. Let's be honest.
No,
And
it's okay.
there's people that just don't want them.
well represented. They're well represented through cousins and sisters and brothers and all this kind of jazz. The genetic pool is not going to miss me and my contribution. We got it covered. The genes will survive. But if I can make the world a better place in some way, then that's really what I want to do. The progression as we move on as a society and as a species is only impeded by people who are up to bad acts.
Yeah.
All they do is throw sand in the cogs and wheels of progress and slow things down. We should be able to proceed at whatever speed is appropriate for us with our progression as a society and as a people, as a species. If that change ends up being something to do with AI, well, it's here. It's working.
Well, working is debatable. Here it is. Working is debatable.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by working. I mean, cannot. All right, I have more difficulty coming up with ways to break it than I do to use it. Because I use it as a way to, promote ideas, a way to do some very cursory, like, what's the word, sounding board kind of stuff. And it's a rubber duck that talks back.
Yeah.
Do I always believe the rubber duck? No, it's a bad idea, especially if it sounds good.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, that's one thing the wife has really, has really got over a lot of us as far as her ability to discern stuff. And like, I'm not going to get into politics, but I'll say that politics is very divisive, and we've gotten a lot better at doing our fact checking, because anytime we hear a story that backs up our personal point of view and that we really like, it's like, okay, but is that real, or is that just something that
you always have to look at? Is it real?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't like it, okay, then it might be real and I can kind of let it go. But if I really like it, I got to double check, because I can't proselytize something that's not a thing, So anyway, but now we've straight into politics.
Come on, Jess, this show goes everywhere. No, I think that when we look at AI, I think that's going to be the biggest factor for any ageism debate is going to be the AI factor. Is it because of the algorithms, because the amount of brain power it takes to really understand what is going on behind the scenes? I think that's where there's going to be a lot of kickback and a lot of flack. Is at what point does your ability to take in that new information that is more advanced than something as simply as analyzing a log? Like, at one point does somebody sit there and hold that against you? Now, you may be the best and actually know everything, but they don't see it that way because of age, and they may see it as an inability to learn more about that back end.
Right on. And yeah, I can see that as being absolutely valid. If great grandma can't program a VCR, then what exactly does that indicate? She's not going to be great at some of the more technical fields if she can't figure out what's going on at that level. And the fact that we've got large language models that are more accurate than we could have dreamed of back, whenever I was first kind of really touching metal and getting into things. I was like 15, 16 years old when I had my actual first purchased machine with my own money. And it was a 386 DX, big time. It was huge. It was fast. I had 40 megs with a hard drive. Yeah, megs.
That's ultra fast. I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff.
I was pretty pleased at the time. I'm not going to lie. The only reason I was able to get it as cheap as I did was because I knew somebody that worked at a factory somewhere, so whatever. But what we could have imagined back then, as far as the ability to have a conversation with a machine, we could dream that this was going to be a thing. But what we had to look at was like Eliza. I don't know if have you ever even heard of Eliza?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh my God. It was this text-based iterative process, maybe like 80 lines tops, maybe 120, something like that, worth of code. And I think it was basic, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like a little psychoanalysis program. And you would say, I'm really upset. Oh, no, I'm sorry you are. Pull out Word and then throw it in a thing. That was what we had for AI. So the fact that we've gotten to where we are now with large language models that are as accurate as they are. I mean, I've got a screen up over here, working on the entire network setup for my workstation and everything. How, I wanted some ideas as to what ways I can most efficiently use, Proxmox, the server, the laptop, and a few of the other items I've got around the house to make an interesting home lab setup that I could actually utilize to get more into some of the tools that I know I'm going to need, or but someone might want me to be able to use in order to get on somewhere. Now, do I have Security Onion experience yet? No. I know Security Onion exists, but that's a long way from having any experience with it. And hopefully, by the end of the next couple of weeks, I can actually be able to say, yeah, I've got Security Onion up. I know it exists. I know some of the ways to use it a little bit. And I've got, 15, 20 virtual machines set up in some kind of an array, with segmented VLANs, talking to each other and having different permissions and all this kind of jazz. So
we got a question from Jack, Jesse. Do you think there's some reason, I think he meant way, we can make younger people realize there are reasons you want an experienced, vintage, seasoned, whatever, person on their team?
Short answer, I mean, no. There's not any way you can make them realize anything. You can't make them do that. Now, what you can do is you can show that there are reasons for you to be wherever it is you're trying to go. If you're wanting to get on at the widget company down the street and be their cybersecurity guru, what do you know about the widget company? What do you know about their systems? What do you know about what they use, what they do? Have you done any OSINT on them? Find out what you can about their systems and be able to walk into an interview and say, so I understand you've got this stack set up. These are your currently exposed web ports according to Shodan and according to a few other things out there. You've got PLCs open to the public. I'm not sure why you want that, but I would love to come in and start working on getting that fixed for you. Depending upon what level of job you're trying to go for. So what do you think? Is that?
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, and I think one of the ways when you look at stuff like that, and if you're looking to land a job, especially in some of these startups that do have younger CEOs, and they're trying to keep their entire staff more younger and grow with the company or whatever. I watch a lot of TV. Let's be honest, especially whenever I'm need noise. While I'm working, because I always need noise. Sometimes I want music, sometimes I listen to shows, especially ones I've watched before. And so I've been listening and or watching a lot of White Collar and Suits. And what I will say is the way they operate in those shows to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish is, as long as you're doing it legally, same way you go about interacting with companies when you're looking for a job. Do all the OSINT, do all the research, know what they're running. And it would lead anybody who talks to you from that organization will have little to no choice but to either hire you or miss out on probably one of the best candidates they're going to find. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of entitled people out there that think just because they got a certification or got a degree or, I'm in the top 1% of Try Hack Me, they automatically deserve whatever job without ever doing any research on the company, the people that work there, what they did, what their backgrounds are. And in this industry, if you can go into an interview knowing everything about the organization and the tech stack they're running, and again, you can find it legally, probably on the job description, let's be honest.
Go
The
through
people,
go through the people that are working for them on LinkedIn, because if they've got engineers already working there, and you look through their resumes that are on LinkedIn, then it's going to tell you things that they work on. And if you've got enough people saying the same things, probably that's going to be something there, even if you can't find it, through Shodan or through some other sort of absolutely legal non-packet sending sort of way.
so knowing the people that are going to interview you and their backgrounds, knowing the people that work there and their backgrounds. I mean, there's ways you can run circles around them, and yes, there's a running joke and a running meme around the cybersecurity industry about why should I hire you? Well, because I hacked my way in and put myself on your calendar. Like,
Which is funny, but no.
it's a joke, and you should never do that. I will never advocate for doing that. But it is that type of concept of knowing the organization inside and out as much as you can and going prepared for an interview that will land you that job. And let's be honest, if you're good at OSINT and you're really good at social engineering, you can legitimately talk someone into giving you an interview without ever applying. Just talk to them and say, hey, can we set up a phone call for, 15 minutes to a half hour? Learn about them, their organization, and their company. Don't even tell them you're applying. Don't even tell them you're looking for a job. Legitimately just say, hey, I want to learn, and you seem to be in a position to teach me something. You have any time to spare to mentor me. And then, I mean, there's ways to do it. And you're still learning. You're still going to learn. You're still going to grow. But it gives you that opportunity to also, learn about them and that company and what you're looking to do. So there's always ways. You just got to be smarter than the person interviewing you when it comes to the questions that are going to be asked. And I don't mean smarter technically. I just mean smarter by doing your research.
Right on. And on the flip side of that, if you're doing all this looking into a company because you want to work there, and you start finding out that let's see, that there's a mandatory steak dinner every Friday night, and I happen to be a vegetarian, am I still going to want to work there? No, maybe not so much. Are you a fit for their culture? And if you look at it and find out that no, you're not, like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to end up applying at places where, I don't know, where we're doing like month-long cruises every year as a bonus or something like that, because I'm not going to want to be out doing that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be part of that sort of culture exactly. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a company out there and you want to hire me to do this kind of thing, that I won't work for you. I'm not saying that at all. However, while everyone else is on the cruise, I'm going to be at home studying. So there's always more to learn. And I'm making the absolute best use of the time that I've got that I can. So yeah. I look forward to like being able to stop and practice some calligraphy with the wife again and do some hobby type things. But that's not where I am right now. Maybe once I land a job at the right place, then some of the extracurricular activities come back. But as it is, if I'm not working at one place, working at another place, working with the dog, then my other thing that I do is absorb information from the cybersecurity world, be it technical, be it current events. Like right now, after the past semester, I'm having to catch up on the CyberWire. I'm at like April the 9th or something like that right now. But if you listen to it at 2x speed, it goes pretty quick. So
it does go quick that way. I've done it. Yeah. It goes really quick. Again, though, it just gets back to, you have the drive to continue to learn and grow and figure it out.
So that is the world. So,
Yeah. So I think it's one of those things where age doesn't matter. To me,
You know,
I think we're getting better in this industry with identifying the gatekeepers, um, and making it to where we know who they are, so that if that happens, we already know not to deal with them. I think we're getting better at that, and more of the industry, and it's a slow process. Nothing is overnight when it comes to change, especially societal change. Um, but I think we are getting better with kind of opening up the gates, and allowing truly passionate people that have learned and want to continue learning into the industry. Of course, you're still going to have issues. You're still going to have problems with hiring and things like that because the system is broken. But that doesn't mean that it's not getting better. That doesn't mean that there aren't people out there willing to hire whoever can do the job or learn the job, because you can teach the technical side. Very, very hard to teach the social skills. And if I got a job where I need you to interact with people and you can't interact with people, probably not getting hired. Like, that goes beyond culture fit. If you can't interact with clients or my executives, sorry.
yeah,
Can't do it.
I totally get that, and that actually brings up like uh, one of the roles that I think is just the sexiest damn role in cybersecurity is that of penetration testers, especially when they go on prem. I think that's just the coolest part of a job. Now, do I think I'm ever going to end up doing that? No, probably not. I mean, can I help with some of the social engineering aspects of it? Entirely possible. But you know, it's a very small, very niche part of the industry, and breaking into that particular section of it is people can climb Mount Everest, and they successfully do this, but some some people also die trying. So I'm not going to aim for Everest. Give me give me a hill to die on, but Everest is going to be a little much.
I
So
just look at it as, just set your goals and set them realistically.
no, I'm not going to set them realistically. My goal is to save the world. Um, now, I know it's
Again,
going
I
to take.
said realistically, Jesse, realistically.
I can't do it in the time I've got allotted, but you know, I can still have that being my overriding goal. I'll never get there, but as long as we can make a move in that direction, I'm happy.
Yeah. And that's a big thing, right? As long as we're taking steps forward and making progress as individuals and as an industry and as it are, we cannot affect as an individual society as a whole. But when it comes to our industry, when it comes to the things we do, we can leave a mark, and a mark that'll resonate for generations to come.
There you go.
And I think that is really what we need to strive for as people, is to make the best mark we can, so that the generations after us don't have to live through the bullshit we did.
They'll have their own.
They'll
They'll
have
have
their
some,
own to deal with, but not,
not
hopefully,
ours.
we would hope it is better than the way we left it.
Yes. So something the generation before mine. I'm Gen X, by the way. And man, we got kind of hosed there. I'm just going to lay it out. The boomers were not kind. They climbed the ladder and they pulled the ladder up after them. So to all the other generations after that, we tried to shield as best we could, but dude, it was a rough spot. Um,
Problem
gosh,
is, it was an overcompensation,
yeah,
and that's where we're I think today, especially, and even in this industry. right? Even in cybersecurity, we are overcompensating. So there's an issue, and instead of finding the business enablement, instead of finding the way to find that happy medium, we go way off in the left field, and we're like, no, we got to do all this, and it's like now we can't do shit.
Yeah.
It's
perfect security.
The perfect example of that is like Apple. But I'll throw their name out there. Apple likes to claim they're secure and all these other things. A lot of people out there claiming the M3s are so secure, and there's all these, it can't be, breached and all this other BS. When in reality, 0 days, malware, everything else comes out for Apple products. Your iPhones, your iPads, your MacBooks, your MacBook Pros, your MacBook Airs, you name it, malwares come out for it. And you cannot put antivirus or EDR on an iPhone because it does not allow it to hook into the kernel to actually scan everything going on. So whatever antivirus you put on your phone is trash because it can't actually do its job. It can analyze at face value the code of a program, but it can't actually see what it's doing underneath. And you can't see what Apple system files have been affected because it's a closely guarded secret by Apple and you're not allowed to touch their files. Cool, right idea, wrong implementation. Because now the vendors out there that are meant to secure you aren't allowed to secure you. And it's the same on all their products. They do not allow hooking into the kernel or doing anything that would give that true visibility into how that operating system works. And it's because, they're so secure and can never be breached. That's what they like to claim anyway.
Well, yeah, press is always going to try to get ahead of the actual story sometimes. And I keep up with press releases so infrequently that I've heard the noise from some of the adherents, and I happen to use an iPhone, so I can't say that I don't enjoy the convenience. But no one should ever believe that there's anything invincible or invulnerable about their system. iPhones can be breached. Back a few years ago,
iPhones get breached all the time by a simple text message. You ain't even got to click the link anymore. Literally just open the message.
Yep, I was hearing about that one actually. Excuse me. If I'm not mistaken, it was on the same show I heard. Was hearing someone talking about Pegasus spyware. But anyhow, yeah, there's always folks out there that are going to believe that their platform is unbreachable, and no, that level of comfort is not something one can allow oneself to have. Once you start believing that you're safe, then you're no longer vigilant. Once you're no longer vigilant, then you're dead.
See, I look at it this way. Is all my information is already out there from my time in the military and the OPM hack and every other data breach that has happened in probably the past 21 years. So every time I was talking to somebody else about this earlier, we were discussing, how I keep up with news and stuff. I'm like, I can only do so much, but ultimately, every day it's a new breach. Every day it's a new data leak. Every day it's like, I'm so tired of it. I'm like, at this point, you could literally sit there and say the government was completely brought down by ransomware, and I would be like, okay, like
it figured it was about time.
Like it was only a matter of time. They were going to get it eventually, or sit here and have all the power go out. Okay, it was only a matter of time. Like that type of thing. I've become so numb to it because it is every day. Every day, a hospital's information got leaked. Target's data got leaked. This SolarWinds got breached. CySA got breached. All these other big players, and CrowdStrike went down for a bad freaking update. Like, I just look at it, I'm like, okay. Like anymore, it's like, well, are we tracking, dude? I will do the best that I can to secure your network, but if the bad guy wants your shit, they're gonna get your shit. They don't have time limits. We do. You
Yeah,
put us on SLAs. They ain't on it. They could sit there in your network for 6 months and not make a peep.
it is absolutely true. If someone is determined enough, then eventually they're going to get, they're going to get in someplace. And the best you can
Bench
do
and
is
depth is the only way. Be a nuisance. The best we can hope for. Be an annoying mother nuisance. And
a social gadfly, I believe it was referred to as.
yeah, make it not worth their time. That's really all you can do. Jack, with another question. How should those seasoned people look at the cyber job market in this economy cycle? Man, now you're bringing up the economy. You're going to get me and Jesse talking about politics.
I mean,
No, but it's a valid point with the way the
Yeah.
job. So you got Intel laying people off. You've got there was another. My friend Ryan Rosado was just talking about it. Someone else laid off like 5% of their people. That cybersecurity IT is in a serious decline in manning for a lot of these organizations. They're cutting a lot of staff. So
Right.
do you think this is going to help here in the next year or two for those that have understand more about society, industry, and people? So we'll say seasoned people, or do you think it's going to hurt?
All right. How should those seasoned people look at the cyber job market in this economy cycle? There's going to be opportunities coming because right now, yes, they're firing, they're laying off, and the more they do that, the more brittle their structures become. And once they break, then they have to start making decisions about what is more expensive, fixing this thing that broke or hiring a mechanic to make sure it doesn't break. And they're going to have to come to a conclusion where the talent is worth the money. And at that point, if we stick it out, if we keep going and we refuse to quit, other people, they won't. They'll fall by the wayside. They'll find some other sort of interest. They'll go in that direction. If we're looking for this particular field, the field's not going away. I saw something the other day that was saying, it's not that you're going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI. Be willing to change and move with the times. Ride the waves. Yeah, the ocean's always a little choppy, but that's just life, So how do we look at the cyber job market? In flux. Ride the waves. Be there as the tide keeps going up. They're going to realize what's more painful, and they're going to opt out. And opting out means bringing us in.
I look at it as, and maybe it's just wishful thinking. Maybe it's having hope that as we move along in age and understand more about life, we're not as fearful when job markets like this happen. Because I would think at a certain point in time in your life, you should understand how to have a backstop, whether it's another job or a huge savings, right? We're not talking retirement level savings, but enough that you can withstand 6 months to a year of I got laid off and got bills to pay.
Yep.
So I think in that regard, if you are career transitioning, that entails you already have a job or had a job, at which point if you chose to leave that job prior to getting into another one, you're already backstopping yourself. So now you really got to hope you land something quick. But if you're working and transitioning at the same time, then it gives you a little bit of leeway that you can ride it out. Yeah, you might have to suck up a bullshit job for a while, but isn't that what we are known to do?
I mean, dude, I've been waiting tables for 13 years now. 13 years. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. It pays the bills. The retirement plan sucks, but that's something else entirely. If I had to do it for another 5, 10 years, could I? Yeah. Could I do it at the level that I'm doing it right now? For a while. Um, and would I ever really have to worry? No, not really so much. But I'm going to make the transition. I'm going to find the right spot, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Am I going to end up having to wait tables a little longer than I wanted to? Maybe. We'll find out. But if I have to, it's not the end of the world.
And that's the thing, right? It's about having that plan and knowing that, yes, sometimes you got to suck it up.
Yeah, if I don't have something by June of next year, then the plan is to go ahead and enroll at WGU and take their online cybersecurity, bachelor's degree, and knock out another, I think it's another 15, 20 certs at the same time, and come out with a bachelor's degree and a whole bunch more paper. So.
Yeah. So we're at the top of the hour. So we got two questions, one from Jack and then one from me. You already know what mine's going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So first, we got to answer Jack. He wants to know your why.
My why?
Your why.
I think I already discussed that in the conversation.
He said he wants a why that is awesome. So an awesome why.
Of course, it's awesome, dude. I was contemplating my place in the universe and the trajectory of mankind and the eventual heat death of the universe, and trying to figure out what I could do that would help to accelerate our move to being able to survive as a species, as unrecognizable as it might be, once the heat death of the universe occurs and we have to change dimensions.
Actually, that's a pretty awesome why, not going to lie, because we change dimensions all the time and people don't realize it. So, so final question. Your best advice for anybody transitioning careers or just breaking into the career field. So fresh out of college, late career transitioning, whatever you want to talk about, but it has to be about breaking into the industry at some point, whether it's through transition or just breaking in.
Don't stop. Try everything. Anything you can to learn more, to become more valuable. Anything you can do to increase your worth, do that. If that is by helping with, broadcasting assistance messages for various, for various folks out there, and increasing your reach on LinkedIn, or if Facebook still exists, I don't think it does, but whatever. Let's see, or TwitX or whatever. Choose your social media platform and expand there. Go to your local meetups. Get certifications. Take training courses. Anything that you can do to increase your immersion into the society that is the cybersecurity industry and I don't know how to say best, the ecosystem that surrounds it. Do that. Continue on. Become part of it. Eventually, you might just annoy someone to the point where they give you a job to get you to shut up. Whatever it takes.
I love it. And really what it comes down to is you always got to be 10 toes down. You got to be driving. You got to keep going forward. If it means something to you, if changing careers, if breaking into this industry, if all of that means something, then you need to have that determination, that heart, that drive to keep moving forward. And for all of my athletes out there, you should already know this, because that is the same way you were brought up in your sport of choice, whether that's baseball, football, basketball, softball, lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, you name it. It was the same thing. You stand 10 toes down and you drive on through the pain, through the suffering, through the blood, sweat, and tears. You were constantly driving forward. And I deliver that message to my kids every day when we're working on football, is you don't let anything stop you. You want to do something, you go for it, and you go for it at 110%. Don't ever give anything less than your best. And if your best that day so happens to be 80, you give 100% of that 80%. It happens. We have our bad days, but you give everything you have that day. Other than that, look, it's been an awesome episode. Jesse, thank you once again for joining me this evening.
Oh, dude, thank you for
I
having me
will
on.
be off again next week. I will actually be away with my son. He got National Honor Society type stuff to do, so I'll be out of state. But hey, for everybody else, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week. For those coming back from DEF CON, if you're watching this on Team Replay, thank you for tuning in. For those that are here live, once again, thank you for tuning in. I love you all, and I will see you all next time with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.